It's very, very off the radar, very, very technical. I know, you just don't understand what this does. And as soon as you do, you'll switch everything.
So today we're going to look at what it is to be a self-custodian and how it differs from having someone else look after your coins or your money. And for the first time in history, we're kind of in a situation where this is a possibility. In the past, it's always been about banks holding on and securing your money. But now we kind of have a system that says, actual fact, I feel like opting out. I feel like I'm holding on to this myself. And I feel like kind of not giving you all the power. Or giving yourself all the power, should I say. And I find this really interesting. It's one of the reasons that I got into cryptocurrencies in the first place, is to kind of say, okay, let's try and do something different. And this is where it becomes really interesting. So before we get into that, let's just have a look at what the what's happening in the community and what's happening with Decred and other cryptos. So the first thing we want to look at here is the Coinmarketcap. So the first time since 2018, we're actually reached and surpassed our all-time high. So today is the first time we've done that, which is a nice little benchmark. It's a nice reason to do this video today is purely because we've got up to this, the all-time high was actually £82, I believe. So we're actually up to 86, and it looks like we're just going to skyrocket all the way to 100, which is quite nice. So yeah, I mean, we've had some massive price action. If we turn some of these other charts off here, yeah, so you can see how it's ramped up, and we're looking at this area here, and depending on how the pound is doing on any given day, this actual price will change. But I remember at the actual time, it was something like £82 something. But you can see these are the two peaks around that January 2018, and then today we've kind of obviously made this new high, which is absolutely brilliant. There is still a little bit of momentum going forward, which is quite nice, and we'll see where this ends up. So the next thing we need to look at then is how's Decred doing? What's the actual chain looking like? So we're currently at proposed block 528,442. And it's working well. And we actually had Decred had its 5th birthday just this week, which is quite nice as well. So we're now a blockchain that's 5 years old, and it's been running continuously for 5 years without any breaks. So that's quite impressive. The current ticket price, if you were going to stake your Decred on the Decred chain to get your 0.79 reward, you're now going to have to stake 220 Decred to do that, which is really, really impressive. Last time I looked at the chart, we were something like 55% of all Decred being put into staking, which is really quite impressive. It shows a lot of sentiment towards the project, actually. So the mining difficulty is looking pretty good as well. So we've got a very nice hash rate of 364 petahashes, which is absolutely brilliant. But probably the most impressive thing about this chart is where the treasury is at. Now, just 90 days ago, the treasury was at something like $11 million, and we're currently sitting at $76 million. So if it even stays at this level, this £86 kind of level, there's enough money in the treasury now to kind of keep us funded and keep the development going for well into 10 years, which is really, really impressive, if not a lot further, which is fantastic. Current supply then, so we've got 12,597,000 in supply in circulation out of the full 21 million. Absolutely brilliant. So the next thing we need to look at then, if you are enjoying what we're doing here on this channel, you can always follow us on Twitter and obviously subscribe to the channel here. And I want to bring in a new part to this channel where we actually look at other interesting things that are going on and kind of some of the interesting developments. So I think each video I do now, I'm going to actually kind of include some projects that I'm really interested in, or some kind of development that I'm really interested in. And if you're one of these people that is working on something that is interesting and you want to get a promotion on the show, obviously get in contact with me through the Twitter channel, which would be absolutely fantastic. And we'll look at putting your stuff on the show. So the first one I want to look at is a good Twitter friend of mine, which is Kryptos, and he actually produces loads of artwork for the Decred project. And official Kryptos, sorry. And as you walk down, if you come to his site, and I'll put a link below on this Reddable, you've actually got loads of his t-shirts. Now, the logo that I use in the background sometimes is this Decred ball, and it's an absolutely fantastic t-shirt. So if you're interested in t-shirts, or you're interested in merchandise to help support the project and help support some of the people that are getting involved, obviously this is a fantastic way. And he's got absolutely loads of stuff on here, and it's all fairly reasonably priced, which is fantastic. And some really nice artwork. The next person I want to promote today then is Checkmate, also from my Twitter community, and he's just brought out CheckOnChain. Now, for anyone that doesn't know who Checkmate is, he's really into online on-chain analytics, and some of the papers that he's producing to document how the chain is working is really, really interesting, and it's well worth having a look at. So what he's been working on over the last few months is actually putting all of those charts that he's been developing into one place. So it's CheckOnChain.com, and once again I'll leave a link in the description so you guys have got this. But there's absolutely loads of stuff, and to be fair, a lot of it probably will go over your head, but if you're interested in understanding how these proof of work blockchains work, there's probably no better place to come right now. And his big focus is Bitcoin and Decred, which is really nice. He's also a contributor to the Decred project. So a lot of the charts come from a lot of the paid work that he's done as well. But as you can see already, this is like a couple of months old. He's been working on the charts for a few years now, but there's so much stuff here, well worth looking at, well worth supporting. And the more understanding you have of the security mechanisms for blockchain projects, the better. So those are two projects, or two people, that I really want you guys to kind of hit up and have a look at and just kind of make you aware of. The first one is coming away from the Decred blockchain. Now, I recently discovered a podcast called Keyword Crypto. Now, I like these guys. They're a similar age to me, and they have a very skeptical mindset towards crypto. Now, one of the reasons I got into Decred so early on is because it's not an echo chamber. The reason Decred even exists is because the original developers saw that there were problems with the Bitcoin chain, and they wanted to fix it. And they realized in 2017, and actually a bit before, that it was becoming a certain project, and there were certain things that weren't going to change or be able to be developed on. So with the Decred project, they took those the core fundamentals of Bitcoin, like the 21 million cap and the proof of work mine, and they tried to improve on it. And it's one of the reasons I like it, because they look at the problems, they say, look, we've got to try and solve this. And that's why we've got the treasury. That's why we've got such a great governance system. It's because people have been skeptical, because people have asked tough questions. Now, it's going to be a bit controversial, but these guys are talking about crypto in layman's terms, which is, I like this. They're saying, okay, how can we make crypto better? And they are big Nano supporters. And if you've read my document recently, I've looked at Nano, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, this is a really interesting thing, as well as what I'm doing with Decred. But if you're interested in any of their work, they've got some really nice stuff. They interview all kinds of people. Actually, developers of various projects as well, which is really interesting, and they really kind of look at all the different areas of a project. And if you're interested in being skeptical and asking tough questions, actually, I thoroughly recommend this one. Okay, so those are my big shout outs. And once again, if you want to be featured on here, if you're doing something interesting, I would love to hear from you guys, and I'd love to promote some of the stuff that's actually happening, the good stuff. Okay. Other than that, let's crack on to what today is all about. So we are looking at what it is to be a custodian or a non-custodian, and what's the difference and where the benefits and drawbacks might be. And like I said at the beginning, there's really never been a point in history, not in recent history anyway, apart from probably holding on to paper cash, where you can actually be your own custodian, where you can actually look after your own money. Now, there's obvious drawbacks with this, there's obvious problems with this, but there's obvious benefits, and that's just what I want to look into. And if you're getting into crypto for the first time and you're storing your money on somewhere like Coinbase or an exchange, you really need to ask yourself the question, is this secure? Now, Coinbase is, I know it's probably in the next few years going to become some kind of bank, and so is Binance and things like that, but actual fact, from the last 10 years, we have lots of really good history that basically says that these centralized exchanges actually have a security issue where coins are able to be hacked and taken off of these exchanges. So in many respects, if you are getting into crypto, it kind of makes sense for you to think, okay, maybe I'll keep some of my money in a custodian service. So I've got the insurance, but it might also be worthwhile keeping some in your own wallet away from the exchanges, so that you have the best of both worlds. Now, I'm not one of these people that thinks that banks are going away. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is really nice to have the opportunity to kind of say, no, I want to look after my money. I want control of this, and I just think that's interesting. So trust in a trustless world. So this is the thought is, how many people can you actually trust? Can you actually trust anybody? Now, governments give us lots of security, and they give us lots of insurances that actual fact these people can, because it's regulated. But in the past 10, 15 years, we've seen these things break down, and not in the favor of the consumer or the smaller person. So the point I'm making here is, would you trust a stranger in the street with your money? So why do you readily trust a faceless establishment like a bank? And it really isn't. And you could argue back on this, and you could say, look, the fact is they've been around ages and I just trust them and it works. But they have their point in history where it says, actual fact, at this particular point, they devalued your money completely, and it wasn't actually the safe haven that you would have wanted it to be. So having the opportunity to go either way is, I think, quite nice. And then, when you get these situations where there's bank runs and things, you're not going to be one of these people that says, okay, I've got 100% of my wealth all in that area. So for the most part, the answer for this is security. The perceived security for most is what keeps them going back to these established financial institutions. So what is, obviously, what is the purpose of bank? This is fairly straightforward. So hold your money in a safe and secure place. So for the most part, if you're one of these people that only has less than £60,000 in your bank, your money is going to be insured completely, and it's always going to be there. So the next thing is you put your money to work in terms of interest on savings. So one of the things that I learned as a kid is actually you put your money in the bank and you get interest on anything you save. But the interest now is so low. It's like 0.2%, which is not going to get it's not a good return. It's not going to get you anything that you want it to be. So there's no big return. They're actually, and this goes for pretty much every central bank or every bank, there is more money being printed, or there's more money in circulation than the interest rate can actually keep up with. So you are actually going to be devalued based on just leaving your money in a bank. Not there's any problem with that necessarily, because obviously it does make sense to have a cash position. We still have to pay our bills. We still have to pay our taxes. So having a cash position makes sense. But I suppose the argument there would be, should you really be leaving 100% of your wealth in cash when it's being devalued? The last point then is loans on your money based on your affordability. So for the most part, a bank will kind of only lend you money if you can afford it, if you're a proven entity. And this gets a bit sketchy. I mean, there have been instances where they've loaned so much money to unsecure people, and obviously that's where huge amounts of money gets lost. But those are the main functionalities of a bank. That's kind of where the bank comes into play. So the perceived benefits of being your own bank. So you have full control over your funds, which makes complete sense. However, obviously the security mechanisms need to be in place. So if you are looking after your own funds, whether it be your responsibility or the project's responsibility to make sure that those funds are 100% secured, okay? The next thing is this point of no fees for securing your funds. So if you're holding all your money in cash, and you're putting it under your bed or whatever, or you're putting it in your wallet, you're not paying fees to secure that. And as time goes by, we are seeing that banks are starting to charge more fees for their services. So something to be aware of then. When you're holding onto your own wealth, you have that opportunity. Now, data surveillance is becoming quite a big thing, and banks are no different. So they collect data on how you use your money. So the more that money becomes digitalized, the more awareness they are of how you spend your money or how you use your money. Now, this could be seen as a good thing because obviously it stops fraud and it stops kind of fraudulent action because they know where the money is. But also you've got to think about the privacy of that. If you're transacting with somebody that you don't know is fraudulent and they know it is, and they stop all your money and they cancel it and they don't give you back your money, because they have all this data, that can be seen as a problem as well. And that brings me on to the next point. You're not free to transact with whoever you want. And there's been instances in the past, especially with PayPal, when I started out with my own little business about 10 years ago, there was friends of mine that were saying, hey, use PayPal. And then about a month or so later, they're saying PayPal's just frozen all my accounts. I've just lost thousands and they won't give it back to me. And it took them literally months to kind of go through all of the PayPal paperwork to get their funds back. So that's the other thing is, you're free to transact, but you also control that money. No one can take that away from you if the system is secure enough. No one can ban you from your money. So these are the perceived benefits of being your own bank. Now, the only one that I would say that concerns me is the security aspect. Nobody likes to lose money. At the end of the day, if you've got your money in a bank and they lose it or someone steals it, you'll get it back. It's insured. But with cryptocurrencies, it's not insured. If you lose your wallet, if you lose your keys, it's not insured. And that's the point where it becomes quite difficult. So, and this brings us on to the perceived drawbacks of looking after your own money. You must secure your keys. So, your keys are your money. So if you don't back up your seed when you're first creating your wallet, and your computer dies and your hard drive dies or whatever, you lose it all. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are securing your private keys in several different places that are all secure, that no one else can get their hands on. If you lose your money, there's no insurance. If your keys are stolen or whatever, so let's say that's the gamble. One of the points that I can see in the future is you have these custodian services like Coinbase or Binance, where you have that option where they offer you the insurance factor. So they effectively becoming the bank, really. And once again, no support. You've got no one to blame apart from yourself. Now, my big hope as we go forward is that a lot of these cryptocurrencies will start to find mechanisms where there are different ways of them backing up your keys and giving you like a two-factor kind of authentication to prove that it's you before they release those keys, which could be really interesting. And ultimately, it's all about making sure that we don't need any middlemen. We don't need kind of anyone else offering insurance because it's already offered in the protocol, which could be quite interesting. So because we're looking at being a self-custodian, you do need to look at the best ways of securing your money. So the first way, of course, is write down your seed and secure it in a safe place. You can also secure you can obviously have your wallet on two different places as well, which makes it quite interesting and that way a bit more secure. And make sure whatever wallet you're using, they actually give you access to your keys, okay, to your seed at any point in the process. So if you lose your piece of paper with them all written down, you can press a button and it will actually show you your keys. So you actually have that kind of added benefit of kind of being able to digitally see your keys as well. The still backup is a great option, and I quite like this, and this is what the image is here on the right hand side, where you can actually write down your keys in a still plate. So if your house burns down or whatever, you're not going to lose your keys. They will be safely secured on a still plate that can withstand heat of temperatures higher than whatever. The hardware wallet's quite an interesting one. So you've got people like Ledger and Tezos, I think they're called, where they offer these hardware wallets where the actual hardware wallets never get connected to the internet and they hold your seed onto them. I'm a little bit dubious about hardware wallets. I'm not 100% sure I completely agree that they are the safest way of doing it. Ultimately, the reason people think they are is because of this offline process. But then when you read the articles, they'll say, you need 2 or 3 of these. So make sure you secure it on 2 or 3 of these, just in case one of the wallets dies. And because it's an electronic thing, the hardware wallet is an electronic device ultimately. So if it dies, if it gets corrupted or dropped in water or whatever, obviously it's gone. So there are still downsides of that, and I would probably suggest that it's a mixture. I would probably suggest that you want to have a wallet that is written down on a still plate. You want to have another wallet like a mobile device where you store some of your money there, and then you want another wallet where you have like a hardware wallet where you store some money there. So it would definitely be a mixture. I don't think there's a perfect answer to this really. Whether that just be one wallet. The problem with only having one wallet, of course, is if you are out and about and someone kind of mugs you for your device and gets the code off you, obviously they can withdraw the money straight away and there's nothing you can do about it. So ultimately you probably want a day-to-day wallet with just a little bit of cash on it, but you also want another wallet that holds your kind of wealth, like a vault or something. It's kind of one of the reasons I like Decred, because actual fact, what you can do with Decred is with your bulk of your money, you can actually just stake it. So it's locked up. It's constantly locked up. No one can get to that in an instant. So, it's almost like having a vault that's earning you interest, which is something I like. So if someone does, mug you in the street, they can get hold of what you've got in that wallet. But anything that's staked, theoretically, you should be able to set yourself up an alert later on for when it becomes unstaked, so that you can quickly move it faster than pretty much anyone else could. And once again, the mobile and desktop wallets. So that's kind of brings me to the end of this custodial thing. And I think it is a really interesting debate where, it's for the first time in history, we are given an opportunity where we get to choose. And I quite like that, really. I quite like the fact. So if you like this content and you want to see more, obviously press the like button, press subscribe, give us your thoughts in the comments. If you disagree with anything here, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. And also, if you want to be shown at the beginning of the show, if you're developing something that's really interesting and you want me to kind of promote it, obviously give us a comment below, and I'll have a look at it. If I think it's worthwhile, I'll definitely get onto that. I think that's something that we need to be doing more of, is making sure that we promote the good things that's going on in the community, and just try and point out some of this really good stuff. And I'm going to kind of be searching for lots of good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.
It's very, very off the radar, very, very technical. I know you just don't understand what this does. And as soon as you do, you'll switch everything.